The lie was perfect. Sebastian knew it the moment he saw his wife rehearsing how to be afraid. The security feed played in silence, Elena standing before their bathroom mirror. Phone recording, mascara streaking with precision that didn't look accidental. She wasn't crying. She was building evidence. He grabbed my arm, said if I ever told anyone. Delete, restart, again. Each version more convincing than the last. Sebastian watched without moving. For 13 years he'd run a logistics empire built on precision. Contracts control, nothing left to chance. Now the same woman who wore his last name was practicing. The story that could destroy it all. He leaned closer to the monitor, pulse steady. This wasn't paranoia. It was the opening act of a setup. By sunrise, he'd reviewed 6 hours of footage, every recording timestamp. Every moment Elena thought she was alone. 2 remote logins from her tablet. 1 transfer to an encrypted cloud account registered under her maiden name. She wasn't hiding it well. She was hiding it loud enough for him to find. At 7, the house smelled of coffee and citrus candles. Elena appeared in a silk robe, smiling the same way she had at fundraisers and client dinners. "Morning," she said softly, pouring 2 cups. He returned the greeting, tone even, almost bored. She kissed his cheek. He let her. The warmth felt rehearsed, too. When she left for her morning yoga class, Sebastian slid his laptop open and accessed the corporate server. A new subfolder sat beneath Financial Statements Q2, marked Private Elena. Inside, partial ledgers, redlined contracts, client payment summaries, enough material to imply misappropriation if framed right. She wasn't improvising a divorce. She was engineering leverage. His phone buzzed. A message from his attorney, unread since last week. "Need your signature on the trust fund amendments," Elena requested. "Call when free." He closed the message without replying. Outside, the neighborhood woke. Sprinklers, engines, the low hum of normal life. Inside, Sebastian sat in the quiet hum of his office. Every line of code, every spreadsheet cell, every camera feed now a map of betrayal. He didn't panic. He documented. He printed server logs, copied drive contents, and slipped a flash stick into his jacket pocket. As he left for the office, he passed Elena's car pulling back into the driveway. She waved. He waved back. Both smiled like nothing was happening. But inside her phone, a notification blinked. Video uploaded successfully. And inside his coat, the evidence drive clicked softly against his pen. The sound of 2 versions of truth being written at once. Sebastian arrived at the office before dawn. The parking lot was empty except for the security lights, glinting off a row of freight trucks, engines cooling from the night shift. He'd built Cole's strategic logistics on punctuality. He'd never been early out of fear until now. He walked through the glass doors, past the reception desk and straight to the data center. His reflection in the server glass looked calm, controlled, lying. The previous night's discovery had clarified everything. Elena wasn't just staging emotions, she was staging numbers. The ledgers she'd moved under a private folder matched accounts his auditors had never seen. Someone inside had helped her. He inserted the flash drive, accessed the mirrored backups, and began comparing access trails. At 2:13 a.m., a remote session from the CFO's login, Harris Denning. Harris, his oldest employee, the one who introduced Elena to the investors' circle 2 years ago. Sebastian's pulse didn't change, but his thoughts sharpened like glass. Every betrayal needed infrastructure, and now he could see the scaffolding. The office door creaked. Harris's voice broke the quiet. "Didn't expect anyone this early." Sebastian turned, unhurried. "Testing redundancy. We lost a file overnight. Anything I can help with?" "Not yet," he said, smiling. And that was when he saw it, Harris's phone in his hand, screen still glowing with a message thread. The top line read, "E. Cole, upload done?" Sebastian's eyes flicked once to the reflection on the glass. The phone dropped into Harris's pocket. "Coffee?" Harris offered. "Later." When the door closed behind him, Sebastian exhaled. The pattern was complete. Digital access, internal collusion, emotional theater at home. She wasn't working alone, and she wasn't aiming for a divorce. She was positioning for control. He opened a secure terminal and initiated a full system image. Every invoice, every contract, every email, all downloaded to an encrypted external drive. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was survival. The progress bar crawled across the screen. 34%. 49. 72. Outside the glass wall, the first trucks of the morning began to roll out, sunlight cutting across their polished hoods like camera flashes. Inside, Sebastian watched the data pour in and made a quiet promise. They built their case. I'll build mine. The drive finished copying. He ejected it, slipped it into the same jacket pocket that held yesterday's evidence, and walked out through the hum of servers without looking back. By the time the sun cleared the skyline, Sebastian had both of their secrets in his pocket. Only one of them knew it. Sebastian didn't drive home that night. He didn't even take the usual route. He pulled into the underground lot beneath Pierce Logistics Group, his own company, and sat there with the engine off, watching the city lights ripple across the windshield. The second drive sat on the passenger seat like a live grenade. He'd spent 12 years building this business from a rented trailer and one truck. Now, he realized, someone inside his own home had been building a case to burn it all down. At 2:14 a.m., the elevator pinged open on the 4th floor. The only other person in the building was Marcus Hale, his operations director, ex-IT security at FedEx, and one of the few people Sebastian still trusted. Marcus didn't say a word when he saw his boss carrying the small hard case. He just locked the office door behind them. Sebastian dropped both drives on the conference table. 2 backups, he said quietly. One's mine. The other, she made. Marcus connected them side by side. Twin progress bars began crawling across the monitor. For 10 minutes, the only sounds were the hum of servers and the tick of the wall clock. Then Marcus leaned forward. She's been editing timestamps, he murmured. Clipping argument footage, removing entire minutes. Whoever did this knows chain of custody protocols. This wasn't just personal. Sebastian felt the chill run through him. Elena had paralegal training. She knew exactly how digital evidence worked. How bad? Marcus hesitated. Bad enough to convince anyone who doesn't see the originals. Sebastian exhaled, steady and cold. Then we make sure they see the originals. Marcus nodded. You want me to call in Wade? Wade Kincaid, the attorney who handled every high-stakes logistics dispute in the region, owed Sebastian more than one favor. Sebastian looked out the glass wall toward the silent freight yard below. Trucks lined up like sleeping giants, each one carrying a piece of his life's work. Not yet, he said. First, we build the timeline. Every login, every transfer, every second she touched that system. Marcus smirked faintly. Digital autopsy, got it. By sunrise, they had it. 43 access logs from Elena's laptop, each showing remote connections to the security database. Sebastian watched the data scroll down the screen. Times, dates, edited segments, file paths. The story was writing itself in code. Marcus saved everything to a new encrypted drive and slid it across the table. You're sitting on a nuclear weapon, he said. Sebastian looked at the drive for a long moment. Then we don't detonate it yet, because the real war hadn't started. The summons would arrive in 48 hours. And when it did, Elena wouldn't be the only one walking into that courtroom with recordings. The morning began with silence. Not peace, silence. The kind that comes after a bomb. Goes off and everyone waits to see what's left standing. Sebastian woke before dawn, the sky still bruised and gray. He sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a cold mug of coffee, eyes fixed on the unopened envelope that had arrived the night before. Heavy embossed seal, Shelby County Superior Court. He'd seen enough legal letters in his life to know exactly what this was. He didn't open it, not yet. At 7:43 his phone buzzed. Marcus Hale, always early. She filed, didn't she? She did. You read it? Not yet. I already know what's inside. Sebastian stood, straightened his shirt cuffs, and slipped the envelope into his briefcase. He didn't need to read her accusations to feel their weight. He'd been expecting this play. By 9:00 a.m., he was walking through the glass doors of Kincaid & Moore LLP, the law firm that handled corporate wars, for breakfast. Wade Kincaid, his lawyer, looked up from behind a stack of files as Sebastian entered. Morning, Sebastian, Wade said, leaning back in his chair. You look like hell. Good, Sebastian replied. Matches the situation. He dropped the envelope on the table. Wade opened it, eyes scanning fast. The silence stretched until he finally exhaled. She's coming for half your company. Claims psychological intimidation, evidence of coercion, emotional distress, and she's got recordings. Sebastian gave a small, cold smile. I know, I've heard them. They sound bad. They are. Because they're fake. Wade raised an eyebrow. Altered? Edited, Sebastian said, and I can prove it. He reached into his case and slid over a slim black drive. This contains the originals. Every second she clipped out, every timestamp she tampered with. Marcus verified it. Wade turned the drive over in his fingers, impressed. So she's setting you up with digital evidence. That's bold. It's not bold, Sebastian said. It's desperate. For the next hour, they laid out the battlefield. Every claim she'd made, every counterpoint he'd prove. Wade drafted a motion for forensic authentication, a move that would demand the court verify every second of her recordings. When they were done, Wade leaned back, studying Sebastian's face. She knows what she's doing. She's trying to bury you under headlines. The story alone could ruin you before the truth ever gets heard. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Then we don't play defense. We go first. By noon, social media was already spinning. A leaked headline from Business Ledger Weekly. Pierce Logistics CEO accused of manipulation and surveillance by spouse. Marcus called from the operations floor. She's going public. Someone fed the claim to the press. I know, Sebastian said. Let them talk. You sure? This could tank stockholder confidence. Marcus, Sebastian replied. Voice calm. When the truth comes out, they'll see exactly who edited what. He ended the call, then opened his laptop. 2 files, Elena clip MP4, original camera 3 MP0. He hit play on both side by side. In her version, his voice was clipped, cruel, stripped of context. In his version, the camera caught her staging the moment, adjusting the phone, rehearsing her lines, forcing tears that hadn't yet formed. It was surgical deception, but Sebastian had the scalpel now. He leaned back, watching the footage. You built your case on a lie, Elena, he whispered. And I built the camera that caught you doing it. That night, the city outside glowed under storm clouds. Memphis thunder rolled like artillery. Wade called again. Court date set. Next Friday, 9 a.m. Good, Sebastian said. Let her bring her recordings. I'll bring the truth. You realize if she doubles down, this could destroy her career. She made that choice the second she hit record. After the call, Sebastian walked through the quiet halls of his office. Every door was closed, every monitor dark except one, Marcus's workstation. The forensic map of data transfers pulsed on screen, glowing in blue and red lines. Marcus turned as Sebastian entered. You sure you want to show everything in open court? Yes. This'll expose her network too, who helped her alter the files. Good, Sebastian said. They deserve to stand beside her. Marcus nodded slowly. You're not just defending yourself. No, Sebastian said, eyes fixed on the screen. I'm defending what's mine. The night before the hearing, rain hammered the glass walls of Sebastian's penthouse. He stood at the window watching lightning slice through the skyline. On the table behind him, the court summons lay beside the drives. 2 small pieces of metal that could decide everything. He could hear her voice again in his head, calm, rehearsed, weaponized. You'll regret crossing me. Maybe he would have, if he hadn't installed that hidden backup system 6 months earlier. The same one that captured every frame she thought she'd erased. The irony wasn't lost on him. She'd tried to destroy him using his own systems. But she'd forgotten one thing. He built them. He picked up the drives, slipped them into his coat pocket, and whispered to the empty room. See you in court. Friday. The courtroom smelled faintly of paper and polished wood. Reporters lined the back rows. Cameras flashing as Sebastian took his seat beside Wade. Across the aisle, Elena sat in a navy suit, eyes sharp, confident, flanked by her attorney. When the judge entered, the noise dropped. Wade began, voice steady. Your Honor, we request that all digital evidence presented by the plaintiff undergo immediate forensic verification. We have reason to believe the submitted material has been altered. Elena's attorney scoffed. Baseless attempt to delay proceedings. Wade didn't flinch. Then you won't mind if the court confirms authenticity. The judge nodded. Motion granted. Elena shifted slightly, just enough for Sebastian to see her knuckles whiten. He didn't smile, not yet. During recess, Wade leaned close. She's nervous. That motion just changed the game. Sebastian kept his voice low. When they start the audit, they'll find her fingerprints on every file. Wade studied him. And your hidden camera? Sebastian's eyes hardened. That's the finale. Outside, thunder cracked again, rattling the courthouse windows. The storm had followed them here. The courthouse smelled of rain and marble polish that morning. Clouds pressed low over Memphis, heavy and bruised. The kind of weather that made every sound echo twice. Sebastian stepped out of the car and straightened his jacket. Reporters swarmed the steps, cameras flashing, their questions sharp as thrown knives. Mr. Pierce, did you intimidate your wife? Is it true she has video proof? Are you settling privately? He didn't answer a single one. Wade handled them with a curt wave and a single sentence. No comment. The truth speaks in court. Inside, courtroom 7 was already filling. Journalists, observers, competitors from rival companies, pretending they weren't here for blood. The buzz dropped when Sebastian entered. He could feel the eyes, half sympathy, half suspicion. Across the aisle, Elena sat poised and calm, her expression an exact copy of the image her lawyer had painted, composed, wounded, confident in victory. Her navy suit was flawless, her hair pulled back, her posture perfect. But her eyes flicked toward him for just 1 second, enough to betray the tremor beneath the mask. The judge entered. Court is now in session. Wade rose first. Defense is ready, Your Honor. Elena's lawyer followed. Plaintiff is ready. The trial began. The first 2 hours were procedural, financial disclosures, business valuation documents, basic testimony. Sebastian answered with precision, every response measured. He'd done this dance before, just never in this kind of war. Then came the recordings. Elena's attorney stepped forward, holding a silver USB. Your Honor, the plaintiff submits digital evidence supporting her claims. Multiple recordings documenting controlling and aggressive behavior by Mr. Pierce. He plugged the drive into the courtroom monitor. The screen lit up. A video flickered to life, grainy handheld phone footage of Sebastian's office. His voice came through cold and sharp. You don't get to make decisions here, Elena. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Sebastian stayed perfectly still. The video continued, showing Elena backing away, voice trembling, him sounding unrelenting. When it ended, the attorney turned. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it in his own words. The judge glanced at Wade. Cross-examination. Wade stood slowly, calm as winter. Not yet, Your Honor, but I'd like to request immediate forensic comparison. Elena's attorney frowned. Comparison to what? Wade smiled faintly. The original. He held up another drive. Defense Exhibit B, full security backup from the same timestamp. The judge nodded. Proceed. The technician rolled in the forensic cart. Laptop, monitors, cables. He loaded both files, one labeled Plaintiff Recording 3A, the other Pierce Security Backup 3A, original metadata verified. Side by side, the same clip played, this time unedited. It showed Elena entering his office, setting her phone face down on the desk, adjusting the angle, whispering under her breath, Okay, start in 3, 2. Then Sebastian entered. She provoked him, about contracts, board seats, accusations that came out of nowhere. His tone was firm but not cruel. No shouting, no threat, no aggression. Then after 37 seconds, she stopped recording. The courtroom fell silent. The technician paused the playback and zoomed in on the file data. Plaintiff recording has been altered. Original audio and video sequences trimmed by 41 seconds. Metadata overwritten. Timestamp mismatch indicates post-production editing. Wade turned to the judge. Your Honor, we submit this establishes clear digital manipulation. The judge's voice was calm, but the weight behind it carried through the room. Motion noted. Plaintiff, would you care to explain this discrepancy? Elena's lawyer stammered. There must be a mistake. But Elena's composure had cracked. Her fingers tightened around the table's edge. Sebastian didn't move. He just watched. Not with triumph, but with precision, like an engineer watching a system collapse exactly as he'd predicted. During recess, reporters swarmed the hallway again, their tone different now. Mr. Pierce, are you saying she doctored the recordings? Do you plan to press charges for falsified evidence? Wade stopped them. We'll let the evidence speak for itself. Inside the defense room, Marcus was waiting with his laptop. You saw the faces out there? He said, smirking. Half the gallery just flipped sides. Sebastian nodded. And the other half will after tomorrow. He placed another drive on the table. This is the backup from her personal device, the one she used to connect to our servers. It logs every time she accessed, copied, or modified the footage. Marcus whistled. You were ready for this from day one. I had to be, Sebastian said quietly. She rehearsed too well. Wade leaned in. This next piece, does it show motive? Sebastian looked at the screen, his reflection in the dark glass. No, he said. It shows intent. Day 2 of the trial began with quiet tension. Elena looked different now, eyes hollow, jaw tight. The media had turned cautious. Wade presented the server logs. Each entry detailed access from her credentials, cross-checked by IP and timestamp. The evidence was methodical, brutal, undeniable. When the court expert confirmed the findings, the sound of pens scratching notes filled the air. Elena's lawyer tried to object, but even his tone lacked conviction. Then Wade brought up the final exhibit. Your Honor, with permission, the defense will play one more. Recording, captured by Mr. Pierce's security system. On the same evening, the plaintiff alleges intimidation. The lights dimmed slightly. The video played. The image, Elena in the living room, phone in hand, speaking quietly to someone unseen. Yes, I have it. I'll cut the parts where I sound calm. It needs to look like he snapped. The words hit the room like a dropped hammer. The judge's eyes narrowed. Who is she speaking to? The technician paused the frame, enhancing the reflection in the window. The outline of a man appeared faintly, one of Sebastian's competitors, a corporate rival who'd been after his contracts for years. Gasps again. Sebastian didn't look at Elena. He didn't have to. Wade stood. Your Honor, the defense moves to dismiss the plaintiff's claims on grounds of fraudulent evidence, submission, and malicious defamation. The judge's voice was measured. Motion under review. Court will recess. The gavel fell. Outside, rain had started again, thin, relentless. Marcus caught up with him under the courthouse awning. You did it, he said. She's finished. Sebastian shook his head. Not yet. Not until the verdict's written. He looked back toward the courthouse doors. Elena was standing just inside, watching him. For a second, neither moved. There was no anger now. Only exhaustion and the hollow space left after too many lies. He turned away first. Let's go, he said. We've got work to do. They walked into the storm. The courthouse was quieter that morning. No camera flashes, no shouting reporters. Just gray clouds pressed against the skyline and the echo of footsteps in marble halls. The storm had passed, but the air still felt electric, like the city was holding its breath. Sebastian arrived early. He always did. The trial had stretched into its third week, every day peeling back another layer of lies until nothing was left but the truth, cold and clinical. Inside courtroom 7, the chairs were half empty now. The curious had already moved on to fresher scandals. Only the press that mattered remained. Wall Street Digest, Memphis Ledger, Business Insider South. They wanted the ending. He gave them nothing. Elena entered 15 minutes later, flanked by her lawyer, but walking slower now. Gone was the confident precision, the calm mask. Her hair hung loose, eyes shadowed. She didn't look at him this time. Wade Kincaid sat beside Sebastian, adjusting his cufflinks. Judge's clerk said they finalized the written decision last night. He murmured. Sebastian nodded once. Then this ends today. The bailiff called the room to order. The judge took her seat, papers in hand. Her tone was firm but steady, a voice made for verdicts. After reviewing all testimony exhibits and forensic evidence, she began. This court finds substantial proof that the plaintiff, Mrs. Elena Pierce, knowingly and deliberately submitted falsified digital recordings as evidence. These materials were manipulated to misrepresent context, intent, and tone in an effort to defame and financially harm the defendant, Mr. Sebastian Pierce. A murmur rippled through the room. The judge continued. Accordingly, all claims filed by the plaintiff are hereby dismissed with prejudice. Further, the court refers the matter to the district attorney's office for investigation into possible perjury and evidence tampering. The gavel struck once. Final. Silence followed, thick and absolute. Sebastian didn't move, didn't breathe. Just let the words settle, heavy as stone. Across the aisle, Elena's face had gone pale. Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't respond. She just stared straight ahead, eyes unfocused. As if the floor had opened beneath her, Wade leaned toward Sebastian. That's it, he said quietly. You're clear. Sebastian nodded, voice low. No, I'm free. There's a difference. Outside, the air smelled of rain and courthouse dust. Cameras waited again, though fewer this time. Wade handled the questions. Sebastian simply walked past them, silent, expression unreadable. Marcus waited by the car, phone in hand. They're already publishing the story, he said. Every outlet. She's done. Don't celebrate, Sebastian said. This isn't victory. It's cleanup. Marcus hesitated. You're not going after her? Sebastian shook his head. I don't need to. The truth already did. They drove back to headquarters in silence. The city rolled by, streets washed clean by rain, neon signs flickering back to life. Inside the office, the staff was subdued but alert. Everyone had seen the headlines. Pierce exonerated, false evidence case collapses. Sebastian stood in the glass corridor overlooking the freight yard. The trucks gleamed under afternoon light, engines humming like a heartbeat returning to rhythm. For the first time in months, the company felt alive again. Marcus joined him quietly. You could press charges. You'd win. I know, Sebastian said. So why not? Because she already lost everything that mattered to her. Credibility. And I'm not giving her a platform to play the victim again. Marcus nodded slowly. What now? Work, Sebastian said. We rebuild. We move forward. That evening, Sebastian went home for the first time in weeks. The house felt foreign, too neat, too still. He walked through the living room, paused by the desk where her phone had once been hidden, the same spot where everything started. He sat down, opened his laptop, and watched the original footage one last time, the uncut version, raw and unedited. He watched her rehearsing lines, checking angles, whispering, "It has to look real." It had looked real. For a while, long enough to nearly ruin him. He closed the file and deleted it permanently. Then he pulled out a small, black drive and the last copy and then dropped it into the fireplace. The plastic warped, metal hissed, and the flames swallowed it whole. Done, he whispered. The phone buzzed once on the counter. A message from Wade. Congratulations, Sebastian. You handled this with more restraint than most men would. He typed back one line. Restraint isn't forgiveness. Then he turned the phone face down. A week later, the Ledger published a full feature. The man who recorded the truth. It painted Sebastian not as a victim, but as a strategist, the CEO who stayed silent while the world guessed wrong, then dismantled the lie with evidence no one saw coming. Investors returned. Contracts resumed. Even the board that had once doubted him sent a quiet email. Welcome back. But the quiet didn't feel like victory. It felt like aftermath. Late one night, he walked to the edge of the freight yard again. Wind cold against his face. A single truck was leaving the gate, headlights cutting through fog. He watched it disappear down the long wet road, steady, certain, unstoppable. Marcus's voice echoed in his head from weeks ago. You're sitting on a nuclear weapon. He had been. But instead of detonating it, he'd used it to light the path forward. He breathed deep, exhaling into the night air. No rage, no regret, just clarity. The truth hadn't saved him, proof had. And that was something he would never forget. In the distance, thunder rolled again, soft and far away. For the first time, it didn't sound like war. Morning broke over the city like a clean slate. Pale light slipping through glass towers, the kind that made everything look washed and new. But Sebastian knew better. Nothing was ever clean after a storm. You just learned to live with what survived. He sat alone in his office. The skyline stretched wide before him. The courtroom, the chaos, the headlines, all of it had finally gone quiet. 3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks to think. Across the desk lay the last remaining piece of the ordeal. A thin folder from the district attorney's office. Inside was a simple notice. State versus Elena Pierce, pending investigation for evidence tampering. He hadn't asked for it. He hadn't testified against her. The system had picked up where the truth left off. Sebastian closed the folder and exhaled. He didn't feel triumph, just distance. The door opened quietly. Marcus stepped in, a takeaway coffee in one hand, a cautious expression in the other. You're in early, he said. Old habits. They never die, do they? Marcus placed the coffee down, scanning the city view. You know, people are calling you the most composed man in Memphis. You never snapped, never lashed out, just played the long game until it folded. Sebastian almost smiled. Composure isn't calm. It's just focus with a mask on. Marcus nodded slowly. Still, you beat her, completely. Sebastian turned to face him. No one beats anyone in something like this. We both lost, just differently. That afternoon, Sebastian walked through the warehouse. Floor, the beating heart of Pierce Logistics. Workers nodded respectfully as he passed, conversation softening. The company had survived the scandal, even grown stronger under the weight of scrutiny. But every echo of footsteps on concrete reminded him of what it cost to prove a truth. At the far end of the bay, he stopped before one of the trucks, the same model from his first year, a relic kept for history's sake, the old logo still faintly visible beneath layers of polish. He ran a hand over the metal, the cold steel grounding him. 12 years ago, it was just one truck, he thought. Now it's a fleet, But what's a company worth if the person steering it can't trust his own home? Later that night, rain started again, softer this time, like the world apologizing for the weeks it had spent breaking him apart. Sebastian sat by the window, the city flickering below, when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something in him, maybe habit, maybe closure, made him answer. Sebastian, the voice said, quiet, familiar. Elena. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of rain filled the space between them. They're charging me, she said finally. I know. I didn't want it to go this far. You did when you started. A pause, then softer. I thought I could make you lose control. I wanted to see you break. Sebastian closed his eyes. You almost did. More silence. Then barely audible, I'm sorry. He let the word hang there, fragile, meaningless. You're not sorry for what you did, he said. You're sorry you got caught. Elena didn't deny it. She just breathed once, sharp and trembling. What happens now? Sebastian looked out over the dark skyline, the city lights stretching to the horizon. Now we stop pretending, he said. You tell your truth and I live mine. That's all that's left. He ended the call before she could reply. The next morning he didn't think about her again. Not out of hate, just absence, like a radio frequency gone dead after too long of static. Instead, he turned his attention back to the living, meetings, routes, expansion plans. The things that had always made sense. At noon, Marcus dropped by with a grin. Board signed the new Texas contract. It's official. We're back in the top 5 carriers in the region. Sebastian nodded. Good. You don't sound thrilled. I'm just thinking. About what? How quiet it is when the noise stops. Marcus smirked. You could take a vacation. You've earned one. Maybe, Sebastian said. But I don't think I remember how. That night he returned to the freight yard one last time. The rain had stopped, the air crisp and cold. Rows of trucks lined up under floodlights. The empire he'd built, survived and reclaimed. He stood there for a long while, the sound of distant engines humming like a pulse. In the reflection of the glass office window, he saw himself. Not the man who'd been accused, not the one who'd fought back, but the one who'd endured. Sebastian Pierce, builder, strategist, survivor. He lit a cigarette he didn't plan to finish and whispered to the wind. Truth isn't a weapon, it's armor. He let the smoke fade, the ember die, and turned toward the glow of the city. The next chapter waiting. Silent and wide open. No more trials. No more defense. Just forward. The storm was gone. The truth had done its work. And for the first time, Sebastian didn't need to prove anything to anyone, not even himself.